One.
Action! You're back at the Friday Night Chips apparatus in the Wednesday Night Sports Talk Octagon. First things first, let me introduce these guests. Number one, we have the fire breather, the great Seamus Keaney, the Irishman, and Friday Night Chips' official Boston.
Seamus, I give you credit for showing back up and not tucking your tail and running after that Celtics series.
Yeah, I had to come back. I had to give the fans what they want. I made a fool of myself, and I'm here to own that.
And we're gonna get to Seamus's championship reaction. We're gonna get to the bottom of all of it. Number two, and that's our official Boston sports field reporter, by the way. Number two, we got Tommy Bavuso of Penn Lacrosse. The armor-piercing shields over there, the Penn Lacrosse posse. Those are my boys. And you know Wednesday is guards, boys. It's going to be a 3-gun approach today. Bang, bang, bang. We're going to get to the bottom of the Lakers drama with Westbrook. We're going to get to the bottom of the Kyrie drama with the Nets. And we're also going to hear Seamus' championship reaction. And remember, Friday Night Chips is the only place you're going to get your sports talk. No bullshit, no spin. Remember that. And then, so that's all. And guard picks is Billy Helmick. Billy, I've seen you standing in the breach, brother. Thank you. So now let's get into the action. Bryson, you got anything to say, brother?
No, let's get it rolling. Let's get it rolling, man.
Let's get it rolling. All right. First things first is I wanted to address the Nets drama with Kyrie Irving. He recently opted into a $37 million contract. He tested free agency. None of the fish really were biting. In my opinion, you look at his time in Boston, and Seamus can tell you about that. It turned into a dumpster fire. He thought he could be the man and lead his own team. He thought he was a big dick swinger. It turned out he really wasn't. And then he goes to Brooklyn, joins forces with Kevin Durant. Not much happens. He doesn't really show up to work. But he didn't get the offers he wanted to in free agency, so he just opted into the player option. I wanted to hear everyone's take on that. Let's start with Seamus.
Yeah, I mean, as you probably can imagine, I hate Kyrie Irving with every bone in my body. I don't think I hate anyone else more in the league, but I think it was expected that he'd take that money. He kind of had a list of teams. None of them wanted him. The Lakers were interested because the Russ situation actually turns out to be worse than the Kyrie situation somehow.
Indeed.
But I don't think it worked out. I think Kyrie and KD have a really good relationship, and we're just like, let's run it back. We didn't really have a chance.
My take on
that.
I
know Kyrie has a championship ring over the Warriors, so something the Celtics don't have.
That's true. That is true.
Tom, let's hear your take on this.
All right, so, well, I got a few scenarios that might happen because he opted in. He could also request a trade. He's Kyrie Irving. He's requested trades before from the Celtics, from the Cavaliers. So, like, if he does that, we're not going to be surprised. But, Kyrie Irving last year, he said it himself. Basketball is not his number one priority right now. It's not his number one concern. He was really just kind of caught up in what was going on with the world, especially like the quarantine, COVID, vaccination stuff. And it just wasn't his number one focus, basketball. So, yeah, I mean, anything can happen with that guy. He's very unpredictable.
Bryson, I want to get very good answer, Tommy. Bryson, I want to get your opinion on this. Because Kyrie Irving has consistently caused the circus, can he ever be a legitimate team guy in the locker room? Because I was watching on First Things First that the reason he said he might not necessarily sign with the Nets is so that he can fog KD's head. Bryson, your reaction to that, is he just going to be toxic in the Nets locker room? Answer the question.
Well, first off, I think we see this a lot with, athletes and really people across the world, when they're younger, and they're in the work, that he's in the gym shooting late at night. And then only the elite ones, the ones that call themselves the GOATs, the one that the people call the GOATs, really, those are the guys that when the fame comes, the money comes, they're still in the gym shooting. And they still got that hunger. And like Tommy was saying, he said basketball is not his number one priority. So the thing I want to ask and the thing I want to know is, does Kyrie still have that fire, that passion? Is he in the gym shooting late at night? And, if he is, then his teammates will respect him no matter what. And if he's not, then there might be a problem.
Well, then I have a question for all three of you guys, and we'll start with Seamus. When Kyrie Irving says basketball isn't his number one priority, why would any owner want to give him a $300 million max deal for 5 years? Why would any owner want to do that? If you were an owner, would anyone do that?
I personally absolutely wouldn't. I mean, his talent speaks for himself when he's on the court. Naturally, if he were mentally in it the way he seemed to be when he was young, I think that's something that he absolutely would deserve that money. But I personally would never give him a long-term deal ever. Nothing more than a year, maybe 2 max, just because of his skill.
And the Nets said, I'm pretty sure Kyrie's agent kind of pitched them a 3-year deal, and the Nets were like, we're not giving you this much money. You didn't even show up to work. Bryson, your take on that. Are you signing Kyrie to a 5-year deal?
Personally, I wouldn't sign him to a 5-year deal. I like the 3 years. I do like the 3 years, but maybe not for the money he wants for it. He's got to prove to himself that he can show up, and work. He's got to prove that he still has that passion for the game for me to sign him. Which I'm not saying he doesn't have it, but I'm just saying I don't know if he does have it, So he's got to prove. If I'm an owner, he's got to prove to me that basketball is what he still loves basketball.
Yeah, Bryce, I totally agree. For Kyrie, it's all about the commitment aspect of it. So we all know Kyrie's box office. He's a hell of a talent in terms of just basketball IQ, and we know what he can do with the handle and the way he can shoot. But he's got to prove it to the league. So if I were a GM, I would give him a 1-year prove it deal.
I like that. Jordan, what about you?
What I think is Kyrie grew a little bit too big for his britches, okay? And I say that because you look at him, he had a fairly good situation in Cleveland being LeBron's number 2 man. He went out in the media and said, LeBron doesn't know what he's doing. I don't like him. If I'm Kyrie, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play basketball. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play basketball because he's still unproven. And after the dumpster fire in Boston, the dumpster fire in Brooklyn, I think it's time for him to get focused and pick a direction. Does anyone disagree with that?
Here's what I'll say about the sit down and play basketball. Like I do agree to an extent. Like he has to realize basketball is what put him in the position to where he's at now. Like on a platform he's at now. Like he's got to realize, like, if he wants to take care of, a certain subject, a political subject or whatever, he's got to realize that basketball has given him the opportunity to do that. So he needs to remember that. He needs to remember what got him to where he's at now, to make his political statements, to do what he wants to do for his certain communities. He needs to realize what got him there. And I think he has forgotten a little bit, what has gotten him to this platform. And I think if you just kind of locks in on that, and he can get it back. It's not like it's gone. It's just he's got to make the decision.
Well, I'm not necessarily telling him he has to shut up. He can do whatever he wants. What I'm more telling him to do is you can't play teams like this because you're just going to screw up the locker room chemistry. And you see that, like, KD's going in the media trying to defend him. He doesn't really know how. He's saying, yeah, this guy's kind of up in the air if he's going to be on the team or not. So I just think it's unfair to the team.
No, I agree with that 100%.
I wish him the absolute worst. Absolute worst.
And that's how Boston feels about this sucker.
I hate that guy.
Man. I mean, I'll tell you how Philly feels. I'd sign him to a 1-year deal in a heartbeat because I'm a Philadelphia Sixers fan, if you guys didn't know, and we are just infamous for the second round exits. And he can help our basketball team, even though James Harden is on our team, and that might be some bad blood there still, but still, like, he's a hell of a player. I'd sign him to a 1-year deal, like I said before, a 1-year prove it deal, especially in a market like Philadelphia. Philadelphia fans, they're crazy, but they love their players, and if you show commitment, which Kyrie has yet to do at a place other than maybe Cleveland, if you show commitment, they're going to love you back.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want him to absolutely nuke your franchise, I'd be okay with that. I'm here for Kyrie blowing up the 76ers organization.
Okay, now let's get to gun number 2, the Lakers.
Hold on, I got a question for Tommy real quick.
Okay.
Are you trusting the process or what? Is the process, does that need to get rolling, or are you still
That's a tough question. I mean, process. Yeah. It was kind of dead when Ben Simmons left. I mean, he was part of the process. I know Joel Embiid is, the process. That's his nickname. But I feel like the process is kind of behind us. It's Joel Embiid's team. So take it from there. Do what you can with that. And, I mean, I just don't think the process, is alive. It's something different now.
I feel that. All right, Jordan, what's next?
All right, gun number 2 is Russell Westbrook opted into his $47 million contract. What I want to know is, can this Lakers team work? It clearly was a dumpster fire last season. I like Westbrook as an individual. I think he's tough as boot leather, and I love the way he plays. But I don't know if him and LeBron can work together. I know the Lakers tried shopping him, looking where he could go. Magic Johnson said he's virtually untradeable. Are the Lakers going to be a contender with this current roster? Because it sounds like they want to bring back that current roster.
Well, I think real quick, we're starting to see a theme here of commitment. Who's going to put in the work? We saw you can bring in all the pieces you want, but if it's not going to work and build team chemistry and do the stuff behind the scenes, and it doesn't matter who you got on your team, it's not going to work. So I think commitment is the biggest thing we're seeing here on this episode.
I think in terms of the Lakers, I mean, the first step in them, they can't get worse. There can't be a worse outcome than what that shit show they threw out on the court last year. So I think if Anthony Davis can stay on the floor, there's no way that they're not going to be in the playoff picture. With that being said, I mean, Russ is just horrendous. It hurts your eyes to watch him play basketball.
It does.
It's truly sad. It's terrible. But I know Rob Pelinka had a sit down with him and was like, you're basically a defender. You're a primary defender this year. He's gonna have to play off the ball and just live with that and grab the board, get in transition. But other than that, I mean, he won't be shooting the ball as much as he was last season. So I think they're gonna be back in the playoff picture because LeBron. And if AD can stay on the floor, I mean, that's 2 top 15 guys in the league when healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I am not the biggest Russell Westbrook fan in the world. I think his game is kind of past him now. Yeah. That run and gun game, it's not the style of the NBA anymore. That was kind of back in 2010, 2011, the D Rose era. I don't know if you guys saw this YouTube video, but there's a 5-6 minute clip video of him just bricking shots this year. And it's really embarrassing for an all-star, probably Hall of Fame player, for him to be bricking shots this late in his career. I know it's late in his career, but come on, man, you're a high caliber player. You can't be doing that.
Yeah. One take I have, and no one has said this, I'd like to see Russell Westbrook come off the bench, and I'll tell you why. Listen, LeBron's going to want to do his load management thing in year 20. That's a fact. We know that. If Westbrook can come off the bench and pre-productive, LeBron can do his load management thing. Because Westbrook he had a few good games. He had a few 35-point games. He had one game against Charlotte. I remember he played really well. And
I mean, there's no doubt he's an elite athlete, so.
Yeah, no, he's an elite athlete. But are the Lakers going to be a contender if they bring back this current roster, yes or no?
Legitimate contender, like a team I would say can win the title? No. There's no shot in hell that team wins the title. But contender, they could be a 6 seed, 7 seed in the West. I could see that. I could see them winning 42, 43 games if AD stays healthy. There's no way they're coming close to a title though. That Russ is just that's a third of your cap just in a guy who can't shoot the basketball. It's just truly a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I would agree with that. I would think that they'd be in the playing tournament, I guess.
Yeah.
But 6 seed's a little bit of a stretch. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah, okay. So you don't see – listen, I know LeBron said he wanted to play until his son steps on the floor with him. You don't think he's going to make one final push for the championship? Because I know on Draymond Green's podcast, he recently said the next 3 out of 4 championships are going to the Warriors. Is that a legitimate statement?
Well, I think that every time a team wins a championship, they're kind of on their high horse. Like there have been many teams in the past, not just in basketball, that have thought they were going to just repeat or win multiple championships in a decade, which just hasn't really happened. It hasn't played out like that. So I think they're kind of on their high horse with that. And Draymond Green, he can talk his ass off.
Yeah, no,
like
100%.
both on and off the court, as we've seen in his podcast.
Agreed. And I remember, what did he say to KD? Like, bitch, we won without you. He recently went on the podcast and said we wouldn't have won if it wasn't for, we wouldn't have beaten the Cavs that year if it wasn't for Kevin Durant. So he's kind of flip-flopping.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, the league is just so talented right now. It's so deep. Like, and they're not getting any younger. That core is not getting younger. I mean, Wiggins is already in year 8 or 9 now, and like that just flew by. Those guys, that core is not getting younger, and the league is just like, the talent's just going to get better. Like Luka's going to get better every year. The Celtics are going to continue to get better every year. The Bucks aren't going anywhere. They didn't have Middleton, and they still almost came out of the East. So I just think the league's too talented for them to win 3 out of 4 at this stage of their careers.
No, agreed. I think the Warriors dynasty is personally over, but I thought it was over after their last championship. What year was that again, Seamus?
2018.
Yeah, 2018.
I mean, they're definitely going to be like the favorites, and I think they have a legitimate shot this upcoming year. Like they're for sure going to be the favorites to start the season. Yeah, I don't think that they're going to come back with like mostly the same roster. So
if Curry can get another championship MVP, he's making a significant case that he's just as much of a generational player as LeBron. I think there's a case for that to be made, and I personally aren't a huge fan of either of them. Does anyone disagree with that? Bryson?
Nope. I do not. What's next, my man?
What's next is this is the final gun of the 3-gun approach. Seamus, I want to hear your take on Boston sports, Boston morale right now. I want to hear, is it a lot of, I know you guys have a very young core, so is it, we missed this one, we're going to get them next time, or are you guys saying, let's make some changes? I want to hear how Boston's feeling right now.
Yeah, I mean, guard, I can't sugarcoat it. It hurt. It hurt bad. Initial reactions were just, fuck Tatum. He was nowhere to be found. Like, what a bunch of bullshit. I just thought the team kind of quit when they were up. We were up 2-1, had a 5-point lead in the 4th quarter of game 4, blew it, and then blew up game 5 and 6. And morale in Boston was pretty low, but the Sox are hot right now, so we're just trying to move on a little bit. I think I'm optimistic. I mean, I saw like a statistic compared with like LeBron's first final in 2007 when he was also 24 years old. Yeah. Their stats were literally till like decimal points the same at every major category. That was soothing. Jalen's 25. He's gotten immensely better in each season he's played. So I have to assume that the work he puts in this summer will put him at an even better place, secure him an all-star spot next year, that sort of thing. Tatum's 24. He's a baby.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely optimistic now that these guys have seen what it takes to win a title. I feel like we're going to get one in this like 5-year window where Tatum and Jalen will both enter their prime together. I think
I got a quick question for you. So like Jordan said, you guys got a young core. You got Jason Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown, you got Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, and you got just a solid role cast behind them. Do you guys need another piece, like another star, or do you need another veteran who's kind of been through the playoff picture and has been through a final series and has maybe even won a finals championship? Like, what do you guys need to, get to that next level? What's in your opinion?
Intervene.
Yeah, go ahead, Guard.
Personally, I was so impressed with Al Horford. I think that guy is just an absolute veteran. I know that was that his first finals, I believe. But no, Horford has a real head on his shoulders. I love Horford.
Yeah, Horford's old, so I don't really know where we're at with that. But in terms of like being one piece away, I don't think we need a star. I think we have Jaylen and Tatum. I don't think it's like a big three era as much as it was in the like early 2010s. I think 2 stars is enough. You have the right pieces. Rob's a beast. Rob Williams was an absolute beast, second team all defense, and Marcus obviously. I think we need a third wing.
Are required to wear a face covering while boarding the vessel and
All right. Those are the 3 guns for tonight. We'll be back Friday with more action for the main event. Bisha, you got any closing words, brother?
Well, yeah, just kind of hitting on what Seamus said. I think it's like they've gotten to the finals now. They've gotten that taste, and when you get so close to something, especially as a first time, and you don't, you get right there and you got to open the door and the door doesn't open. That's tough. I think they're going to be that much more hungry to get it done, and I agree with Seamus. I see another title coming to Boston within the next few years. So that's it. And Tommy's getting on the ferry.
Thank you,
Yes.
Seamus,
Sorry about that, guys.
Keaney, and Tommy. That's our official Boston Sports Field reporter and Penn Lacrosse player, Tommy Bavuso. Thank you, boys.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Thanks for having us, guys.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks so much.